This video may end up with me being put in a Dominican jail, or at the very least kicked off of YouTube and Instagram, depending on whether or not I say or do the right things. And no kidding, if a bill passes that was just proposed, a digital media regulation bill, I probably will take this video down for fear of my own safety. That's not hyperbole, that's real. And in this video, I'm doing it raw, and I'm going to share with you the 5 very concerning elements of this bill. And I'll also give you the elements of the bill that I think are very positive. But in the end, I'll tell you what I think, but I'm curious what you think. Make sure you drop a comment, let me know. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. Maybe not be here very long anyway, so we shall see. It's a little bit scary. So let me dive in. So this bill was proposed by the executive branch, and right now there are protests of journalists in Santo Domingo just going after it against this bill. And Abinader has backed away like, well, it came from my branch, but I wasn't really part of the architecture of it, right? So he's sort of backing away from the drafting of the bill, but again, it came from his branch. The 5 areas that concern me, first and foremost, I have them jotted down here, so I'm going to look back and forth. The first is the creation of an independent regulatory body for online media. So it's proposing the establishment of a government-backed entity to oversee and sanction digital media, especially on social media and digital news platforms. So the idea is a group, God knows what that group is going to be out there monitoring and checking on creators like myself to make sure what I say, I guess, is true, is real. We'll get into it. But that's number 1. Imagine an independent body to oversee. All right, you have the FCC in the United States. I get it. On the surface, all right, but let's keep going. The second is the use of the term harmful content. So this law says that it will ban content that is considered, and this is the language, offensive, defamatory, or harmful. And it does say particularly to children's dignity and to children's privacy, and I agree with that part. But offensive, defamatory, or harmful. Well, I just recently did a video talking about what I believe to be the worst resort in Punta Cana. Is that defamatory? Is that harmful? Is that offensive? I don't know. That's very, very vague, broad language for a governing body to use to determine what they believe is harmful. And I want to be clear. I don't believe the executive branch, Abinader, whoever drafted this bill. I don't think they were saying like, hey, we can pretty much tell anybody what to do. We can take anybody down. Harmful. We're going to use that as liberally as possible. I don't believe that's the intention. However, who knows who in the future considers something harmful or misleading or defamatory or offensive can come down hard on a creator for just saying something they don't like. Remember the whole misinformation, disinformation thing? Remember? Yeah, that makes it legal, and that scares the shit out of me. Third, criminal penalties for noncompliance. So violators of the proposed law could face fines or even, get this, prison time for failing to comply with regulatory standards. So it is criminalizing content creation. And again, I'm sure there's a space where that makes sense. I'm sure there's reasons for that to happen somehow, some way. I can't think of any, to be honest with you. I'm a big free press guy, but boy, that's a big deal. So criminalizing people for non-compliance with the law. You said something harmful. You said something, harmful, defamatory. You said something offensive based on what this governing body believes those things to be. That's pretty scary. The next is content monitoring obligations. So platforms and media outlets will be required to monitor and take down content flagged by the regulatory body. So imagine YouTube is watching a video like this, or my worst resort in Punta Cana video, and this regulatory body says, hey, YouTube, this violates Dominican Republic guidelines, and they have to take it down. Unbelievable. Can you imagine if that happens? And to be very clear, if you look through the law, it applies to any content creator within the confines of the country. Now, whether my business is US based or not, it doesn't matter. If I'm here and making this content and it's considered harmful or offensive or defamatory, well, I can go to jail. Scary. Scary, scary. And the last one is the targeting of social media and influencers. So the proposal includes oversight of social media influencers and independent content creators, not just traditional media. So again, independent media will be subject to the laws and rules and regulations of all of this, of what this is proposing. So it's pretty crazy. Now look, here's a few of the things that I think are actually okay. It does, one, modernize outdated laws. The bill updates the country's primary media law, which goes back to 1962. Digital media is new, and you need to have some law around it. It does propose to protect journalistic work, so it explicitly prohibits prior censorship and guarantees freedom of expression for journalists. It says that. It's like, hey, we're a free press society. But then you're saying these vague words like harmful, defamatory, offensive, and a body is going to regulate that and put you in jail if you violate that. Like, poof, those words need much, much clearer definition if this is going to pass. It does propose, I guess, universal internet access. So it's essentially saying, hey, access to internet should be a fundamental right in the country, which it's not bad. And the last one I kind of alluded to, specific protections for children and vulnerable groups. I'm all about that. If you watch a lot of my stuff, you'll see I put something in front of my kid's face. I don't ever try. I try never to have their faces public. I believe that my kids, when they're old enough, can decide if they want to be public. So I don't let them be public in my videos. You might see the back of their head, but that's about it. And if there's more protections for vulnerable groups, children, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So the question is, will this pass? And it's hard to say. There's definitely a visceral response to it. I think that it could pass in a different form. I think some form is probably a good thing to modernize this law, and so on. The other question is, Jamie, would you really take your account down? I've thought about this, and I talked to my wife about this, and I've said on other videos that I'm an opportunist. So if this passed in its current form, I would definitely comb my account to see what have I put out there that in the smallest way challenges an individual, an entity, a government official in any way, and I would take that down. And honestly, I would probably lean into, travel, very light, check out this restaurant, go here, go there, which I do anyway, but I would do all that to avoid being offensive or anything else. What I wonder is a guy like my buddy Sergio Carlo, and I haven't asked him, what would he do? This dude goes right after government officials. He goes right after corruption all the time. If a government official that's corrupt has the ability to impose his or her will on this body that says, hey, what he's doing is offensive, it's an attack on the media, independent or otherwise. So we'll see what happens. I'm not panicked. I'm not worried. I just will figure out what it is, and I'll change. I'll pivot. I'll make a change and do what I have to do. But I hope that the bill doesn't pass in its current form. And again, I don't believe that the intention is for censorship of media. But I think somebody has to recognize that when you use that language, whether it's Spanish or English, it's very vague, it's very broad, it's very scary. And I'd be mindful of that. If you want to talk more about this and other things, join my DR Inner Circle. I did a video last time announcing it. The link didn't work. I got the link updated. It's down below. For a small amount per month, you can be part of my Inner Circle, which will get you a private Facebook group. You'll get lives, Q&As with me every week. You'll get an expert interview with me and somebody here locally in the real estate or legal space or whatever it might be. I'll have them come on and answer your questions. And there's a whole bunch of other perks, restaurant discounts, bonus content, footage that gets out before anybody else sees it, and those questions that you want to ask that I won't answer here, probably because of this law now, like, hey, what's a good, is this a good investment for you to make? Is this a good developer? Like, I'm more prone to answer that in the Inner Circle. I'm not going to do it publicly, not even with this law in place or not in place. I just don't do that because I don't want to defame anybody. Just because I don't believe something to be true, I'm not going to say, oh, that resort or that investment I wouldn't make. I would just say, hey, do your due diligence and here's how. So that, my friends, is the entire story. I hope and pray that this bill doesn't pass in its current form. But what say you? Do you agree with it? Disagree with it? Is it not quite as dangerous as I believe it to be? Do you see something different in it? Are journalists freaking out for no reason? Does more regulation need to be put in place? I'll take all your answers down in the comments, and I will see you on the next video.